Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is November 9, 2023. How you boys feeling about November 9?
Good.
That's it? Can you be any less more enthusiastic there, Stonkington?
So good. I thought my audio was broken, so that's
I
good.
can barely hear you.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is something's
It's,
messed up here, but
it's slowly getting better. Slowly getting better. All right, so let's talk about the stuff. Yeah, nice little dip overnight, nice little pop coming into the day. The grind continues to be higher. Dollar playing games back and forth, saying which way do I go? Do I go to zero or do I go to a trillions? And dollar continues to try to figure that out. Data this morning pointing more towards. I believe we had weakness in the job market once again. Initial jobless claims perked up ever slow slightly, still lower than last month, but they did peak up over expectations. So that's what we have going on over there. We have Bostic in 38 minutes. We have Barkin at 11. And then at some point today, we have Powell. And I'm not real sure, and I can't really figure out whether or not Powell and his dealing majigit is going to be like it was yesterday, to where he just makes 15 minutes worth of remarks about how whatever association he's visiting on that day is doing a really great job and it's so important, so neat, making absolutely zero comment on the economy, monetary policy, and or otherwise. So that's kind of what that's what we have. I'm going to try to dig into it to more to see exactly if there is a real um, speech to be given tomorrow. And looking at it, we have GDP out of Great Britain. We have, for us, nothing really going off in the morning. We have consumer expectations, inflation expectations, and consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So those are our quote unquote landmines that are scattered shot all throughout everywhere. Overnight, China put out some data. What do you think about that data there, Sonny?
It was definitely interesting, right? So there's two narratives that you're hearing. Hey, they're on the right track, but then they're also talking about it from the retail side. The softness of the data doesn't help Baba, JD, because people are spending less. But
Mm-hmm.
once you kind of like dig into the detail, it was more of the prices were coming down on the food side, not as much as what you would spend on, extracurricular activities, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, they're trying to help consumer. Okay, save more money by making food cheaper, so you can go out spend more money. But I don't think there's an appetite for that right now.
Yeah, I definitely think their policy has been a little bit wacky. I think we can all agree on that. If we go back to even COVID, keeping it shut down for as long as they did, allowing the world to kind of move off of them a little bit. And I think they're kind of feeling the pain of that,
Yeah.
along with how they're, so heavy handed when it comes to their companies over there. Very heavy handed. So when you have that environment, it becomes difficult to get any type of foreign investment to feel good about it when G can just wake up and be like, you know what, I don't like the way his hair is parted. Let's go ahead and throw him in the clink. Um, yeah, very, very difficult environment when you have something like that going on. So Disney
Yeah.
reported last night. Those are pretty solid numbers. I don't know how you can take Disney lower off of this, especially when the majority of the story there has to do with them cutting costs and bringing spending back under control. So when you're doing that and kind of, I don't want to say stripping it down, but making it more appealing and looking to move off of some of their in-house assets, it becomes very, very difficult, in my opinion, to continue to stay down on the murder mouse. Whether or not it actually makes a move towards a 100, I don't know. I have no idea. But what's also interesting, Sonny, is ARM, the most recent big time IPO. They came out yesterday. The numbers look pretty good, but their guidance was not so great.
Yeah, the guidance was mixed at best. Um, did see some news about how Intel is buying more into ARM, taking up a bigger stake. So gotta watch that. I think it's more of a settling down period for ARM
Mm-hmm.
at this point. There's been more and more news. I think we heard more news a couple of weeks ago. There's like Microsoft and others are looking to use more ARM chips of based for AI versus trying to go towards NVIDIA and others. So bring all of this stuff more in house,
Mhm.
working with TSM and ARM uh, to put a dent into, let's say, monopoly of NVIDIA and AMD.
Right. Which, the products are diversified enough to where I don't know that you can necessarily call anything a monopoly or anything goofy like that. You're the first
Yeah,
to market or you're not. that's it's kind of
pretty much.
that's kind of how life works. It's like you snooze, you lose. That's one. Early bird gets the worm. That's another one. Sure, there's several others, but it's like that's kind of is what it is. They were first to market, just in a lot of ways, like IBM was back in the day, first in the market. This is what they rolled out. This is what it was, and it took a while for anybody to even catch up to them. But technology moves very, very fast, and what's hot today is dead tomorrow. So we'll see how that shakes out. The NVIDIA ER, I think, is going to be very, very interesting. Even more so with the fact that it's still what, a couple of weeks away.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's wild to think about. Like Nvidia could be back over 500 again going into ER.
easily. And they had news this morning about that whole restriction on shipping to China. So they are about to release. Well, the rumor is they're going to release the three new chips as soon as next week that complies with the new restrictions and should be okay to export to China. So
Hmm.
it gapped up on that and has kept going this morning.
Yeah.
500
Um,
is not far.
yeah, no, it's like, look, Nvidia has proven itself over and over and over again, and from everything that I've read is pointing to you're not going to see weakness in their numbers unless they guide down going into 2024 or that first reporting quarter in 2024 where there might be some weakness, but these numbers are supposed to be just as good. They're coming out in a couple of weeks as what's been there. So
Hmm.
I guess depending on where it's trading, it can become a sell the news, or again, depending where it's trading, it can be buy the dip. Right now,
Yep.
the dip was dipped and is being bought with both hands.
Yeah.
And I think, Stonk, I think you can agree to this. What we've seen over the last, several sessions with the fact that if you give them a red candle, they're buying it before somebody can sell it.
Truth.
Like they're just like, we're going to buy it. Even the ones that are like, we got a couple of goofy headlines that created some red candles yesterday, bought right back up. But it also appears at the same time that we're really not in a hurry to go anywhere. Once we got into this little level, it's like if you're looking at the chart, we got, within a couple of nickels here on the 15-minute, this is, close to being a quintuple top over here. Kind of breaching, pulling back, breaching, pulling back into this area just above 15,400 on the NQ. Very, very interesting level. It's like, can we take it? Can we make that move? The other thing that I'll point out that is worth, keeping a close eye on and being aware of, Apple has dividend tomorrow. Things can get weird when Apple has dividend. So we're not going to get, the same directional flow like we've been accustomed to. I know coming into today, they were more active in trying to hit upside targets on Apple than downside targets. That was something that is very obvious. And the other thing that I'll put out there that I think is important, if you're listening and you're like, what the hell is going on? Why do we keep on going up? If you were a studious watcher of flow over the last several sessions, you will notice that they are gunning on flow. Whether we get there or not, different story. They can just be playing premium games, but they are going for all-time highs by the end of the year. That is what they're pushing for. That is what is within the flow. And so just like you don't fight the Fed when the Fed is backing off of their policy for the last couple of years as far as raising rates, not fighting the Fed means being aware of everything that this thing can absolutely melt and grind substantially higher than where we're sitting right now. So if you wake up every morning saying, I'm going to short this pig, I'm going to short this, I'm going to do that, you might be setting yourself for failure unless one of these things come back and play. Data gets into the point to where it's like, nope, this isn't going to work. Two, flow flips. And right now, there are more targets, and I'll just use SPY. There are more targets on SPY above 450 than there are down at 420. There just are. Doesn't mean we can't go back down to 420, but that's where the targets are currently setting. So that's what I have in a nutshell. I'm going to try to dig in and figure out what the deal with Powell is, if it's a real speech or if it's just another, shining session, if you will. But that's what I got. Sonny, how about yourself?
Yeah, I got a few items for news. So Amazon is letting go of some of their employees in the music streaming business. So a couple of weeks ago, they had shut down a whole department by Twitch or something. And this is the global layoff, not just based in the U.S. So you pay more for Prime and you get less back now. I'm surprised you didn't cover the historic strike between the actors and the studios.
It's a 3-year deal.
So tell us more.
I honestly, I don't have more. It hasn't. I really, really don't. I really didn't dig into it this morning, and it's really kind of more of a ho hum type of a thing. I haven't seen the actual numbers. Have you seen the numbers?
No, I haven't seen the numbers. It's
Yeah.
more. It did give a little bump to all the streaming companies. We're talking about Disney, Para, Warner Brothers, Roku, Netflix. I think it's a short-term positive, long-term negative for these studios and the streaming services, because once they start having to pay out more, it's going to cut into their profits.
I totally agree. But what they do have and can utilize in a lot of ways is pricing power. And I think the big thing is, like with technology, they're having to move off from doing a lot of things that they were having to do before. The processing becomes easier, faster, and more efficient. So I think that what I have to see the numbers to dig into to understand is, like, how much are you raising the minimum wage, if you will, to actors? How much is this going to impact, streamers versus legacy? It's a really, really big question to where if they're going to be able to get away paying streaming players, dirt cheap money with no residual, or if that has changed. I have no idea. But when it comes to Disney versus Netflix, if you're looking at it like that, and even Paramount in a lot of ways was a one-trick pony as they try to roll in CBS and some of the other pieces into what Paramount is. Disney, to me, where it's sitting, has the most to gain based off of it. They have assets to move if they need to. If they want to move sports, they can move sports. To me, Netflix is the odd man out, no matter how you cut it. So we'll see how that.
Yeah, Netflix is interesting. Yeah, because they haven't paid royalties out to actors before. This is going to be a big part of it for them to start doing that. So yeah, Netflix definitely would be interesting to watch on this.
So again, we rejected this area right up in here again, this 15,400 on the NQ again.
Yep.
So it's like we have to kind of pay attention to that a little bit, along with the dollar and everything else. It's like, it's obvious there's a monkey up there that's like, nope, this is, you shall not pass, at least right now.
Yeah. The other big news was for Apple had won this tax case in EU a couple of years ago. And now there's talk about advisors, it hasn't been finalized. So the advisors to the EU are telling them to roll this back and put these penalties back on. So this is roughly about $15 billion at risk for Apple. It's a tax issue that they had because they had moved the operations to Ireland, tried to evade taxes, not paying in Europe, and EU and Ireland reached an agreement. Now they may reverse this for Apple. So wait for a headline on that. Amazon, so this was interesting too. They are offering discount for one medical primary care. It's like $99 a year or $9.99 a month. So a couple of years ago, Amazon had bought out One Medical. It's a Teladoc type company, and that plummeted Teladoc shares. So this could affect that again. So keep an eye on Teladoc. I think they just had ER also. And the last bit would be, Bell Holdings. So we saw, I think they sank about 40% after the ER and the guidance that they gave. And on top of that, they've decided they're going to go buy out another company, paying about $2.1 billion for it. And it sank even more yesterday. I'll look to probably look at some long term to buy the dip on that one. And Dark Pools posted some interesting data in it yesterday. That's about it.
That's about it. All right, very nice. What you got there, Stonks?
All right. Yeah, let's get into some of this stuff. We've got some interesting divergence here coming into pre-market on the ES versus the NASDAQ. So let's check it out. Let's see. We got first, we'll take this look at the daily. We've been leaving these gaps behind, and then we finally started to cool off a little bit running into this week. So we've got new week opening gap below, daily gaps in yellow below. We've got, let's jump over here, take a look at the hourly. We've got this kind of rising setup. We looked at this blue box gap earlier this week, and we kind of ran it, and then we closed back above. We're kind of in this rising setup here on the ES, and when we flip over to the NASDAQ, we'll see it's a little bit of a different look over there, but we're banging up against this trend line. And the next thing above, we've got these, we've got some highs, somewhat relative equal highs, maybe even would have room up to this guy, and then the orange box starts a weekly fair value gap. So if this is technically still, this is an uptrend, but the fact that it's a rising setup, if we pause here, that we could be looking to short, then we've got this trend line below. If we lose that, we know there's stops down there at 43.6425. If we can break out, then yeah, I'd be looking to see what they do. We talked yesterday a little bit about, seek and destroy type setups. We had, I wasn't able to jump on voice during the setup, but there was that level yesterday. I think it was like, what was it, 15,370 on NASDAQ, where we saw there was a bunch of bear stops. So when you see a level where there's a lot of stops, it doesn't automatically mean once they run it, you go the other direction. It means you watch for the next candle. If it's an aggressive push in the direction where the stops were, then you'd be looking for continuation. So like yesterday when it popped it, we had a nice candle following it. So I was looking for another little long there. So similarly, like say, for example, if we came down and ran these stops, if we run these stops and pause, that's where I'd be looking to buy, run these stops, and they're still displaced. Mr. T calls it displacement, an aggressive candle in the continuation direction, then you're looking for short entries. So when you see the stops ran, that's time to stop, reassess, see how it looks. So if we jump over to the NASDAQ, we can kind of tell it's not in the same kind of rising setup. It's got equal highs basically above. So this is going to be a key level here. See what they do with it. If we break this 15.41225, and then we can see below, we probably have to see what they do with this area down here. Let's check what that would be. 15,364 on NASDAQ.
So that 15,360 is where I'm looking to play scoop. So I'm glad that those line up. But like if we come to that area, there is an area that I will make an attempt, as long as we don't just splice through it like raging psychos.
Exactly.
That area right in through there is one that I'll look to scoop. And what's interesting about that also, let's see, where did it go? Don't mean to pause you out, but there was an area there. We basically, if you pull up a 15-minute on the NQ, we have maintained this area and basically walking the 89 on the 15-minute. We've just walked it. Every time it's touched the 89 on the 15-minute, within a couple of bars, we have ricocheted back up, and this is going back a pretty good ways. So that's something, that area there, it all coincides in a lot of ways for some interesting action if we do get a dip into that. We are getting a reversal candle here on the 15-minute on the NQ. That is coming in right now. What is it, another 5 points down, and that could be one of those little hammer thingies that they can get really, really messy on the 15. But please go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Yeah, so basically the idea here is just there's an algo that knows there's going to be stop sitting right here, and for max pain, they would stop out these bulls that would have break even stops on their longs, and then run it back. But as Hell said, it's do we slam through it, or do we stop people out, pause, maybe put in a green candle? That's where you'd want to be looking for something that's going to get you in long. So that's kind of the setup here on the NASDAQ. You can also see here, this is the only gap up in this area is this high to that low. So this could be an interesting, see what we get right there. 12 above where all the stops would be sitting. If we slam through that, then we've got to see what happens down at 15,360.
So I totally agree with you, man. 100%.
Nice, good stuff. Let's see. I wanted to do just a quick look at oil. So crude, we talked about on Monday, crude was looking like a short, and then we got this monster move down. So looking here on the daily, maybe we're going to start to get a little bit of a rising wedge look. We've stopped out these bulls, similar to what we were just talking about. We've, taken out the bulls with break-even stops here, and now we got a little bit of a green candle. So we'll see what we get over there. Gold was also kind of a solid trade this week. We looked at this head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, right shoulder coming into this week. And then, yesterday was saying when we're kind of stuck on the indices and I see gold over there downtrending, that's, I'll go long, I'll go short. I don't care if it's a trend. I just want to get in and stay in. And, Hell's got to rip on me when I wasn't on voice. Couldn't defend myself, but I did my little drawings over here, and this was our little bear flag. That was a really nice trade. We just saw this thing down here. Can you stay within the lines?
Are you really going to try to come off as a victim over there? Are you really going to do that?
Couldn't defend myself. But
well,
yeah.
To be honest, what we were talking about, I don't think we were talking about your charting, buddy. I think we were. Well, no, I did. I guess I did make fun of your charting. I take that back. I did. We were debating whether or not you were actually in a real rock and roll band, and a lot of people were like, "No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a thing. I don't know. I don't have a comment on it. I really.
You guys will get. I'll have to get the video of the show once we get a show going and there's video. Yeah, you guys can judge for yourself. But yeah, so that the way that I have this chart set up, this is just for me. What helps? I've got this green. That's the 5-minute 20 EMA Albrook style, and you can see, if every time it tests it, that's why this is kind of the only one I'll throw on a 5-minute chart, is because you can just see how clean it is every check. This orange line is the dollar. So that was interesting yesterday that the dollar ran with gold, because that's kind of rare. They were pushing in the same direction. But I like, I have one commodity chart up at least, and I always keep gold overlaid. So that's kind of some of the things that have been helping me there.
When you have the dollar going down and you have gold going down, what does that tell you?
Seems like things are kind of out of whack, right? Because
to me specifically, it means that you have net sellers on gold. Just it's like when you have the dollar going up and you have gold going up, you have net buyers on gold.
Yeah, makes sense. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a different move when they're in sync. But if we're looking at ICT style, this week orange box is this weekly gap here. So if we get down to this 1946.2, I'm going to be watching that closely to see if that was it for this push down, and maybe see if we can run it back. The last one I'll just look at really quick, I think, is the Russell. And this is another interesting kind of divergence in the setup here. It's that we've got this downtrend line that I'm looking for this. I was looking for this retest. I was kind of hoping to see this move yesterday. At the end of the day, I was looking for longs, but you can also see we've got left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So this one's kind of ahead of the ES and the SPY if we were going to get a similar setup, but for an inverse head and shoulders. But the flow seems to be there over there on the IWM. They seem to be ready to buy that one. So I'm leaning more of a bull look here on the rest.
Yeah, that's an interesting recheck of that trend line.
Mhm.
And it also begs the question whether or not we're going to get that in the NASDAQ or the ES. That
Yep.
same type of a recheck of the trend line and then move. I know last night was really, really interesting. It's like they played that level down there overnight, over and over and over again, snatching whatever they could, kind of trying to push a lower low, and then bouncing in that same area basically every single time it dipped into it. And they were pretty, violent moves back the other way overnight. Very, very interesting. So that setup that we were talking about coming into pre-market has been evaporated by these green candles firing to the upside. It took that hammer and said, shove it and put in a higher high. So this is where we're at. This is going to be a fun day.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Bitcoin's cranking. There was again that speculation the SEC is considering those 12 or 13 ETFs that have been filed. So coin gapped up. It's held that gap and made another nice candle up. Bitcoin hit high of day 37,800. So definitely keep those on watch.
Wow.
Your
Look at the
Bitcoin
move on
names.
Mara.
Yep, Mara, Riot, Coin.
That was trading in the low eights yesterday, wasn't it? Like 830? It's at 950, 960 now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I threw out in the room someone's buying 34 calls on Mara for April 2024.
Wild. Very wild. All right. You guys got anything else?
No, that's all for me. Thank you.
I'm good.
All right, let's have a good day. We know what we're looking for. We know what we're going to see. Once again, Apple has dividend tomorrow, which can be very messy for everybody else. Just keep that in
Which
mind.
means you won't see flow either. So before people start
Correct.
talking about why there's no Apple flow.
Correct. It's like we're just not going to get the spotlight on it. So charting is going to be very critical, along with everything else. So in light of not having Apple, I think to me the two biggest pieces that help point the market outside of Apple will be Microsoft. Microsoft flow can be very, very telling. The other one that I'll say that is a little bit more undercover, but damn near always plays out to perfection, Adobe.
Yep.
So keep those two in mind when you're kind of going through flow and trying to figure out which way do we go. Those two should help with us not getting Apple the way we are accustomed to. All right, guys, we have 11 minutes until open. 11 minutes till open. Let's have a good day. We'll see you soon. Oh, one last thing. If you are listening, if you have not liked and subscribed this on YouTube, please do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. It's very helpful. It also helps with our self-esteems. We like self-esteems. So help us, like, subscribe. Thanks. We'll see you soon.
See ya.